Welcome back to the Bold, White, and Blue podcast. We have not gone AWOL.
No, we're back. We're back. A lot of things have changed, though. We had a lot of work to do in between. Our last episode was, probably 8 weeks ago?
Yeah, I think it's like 2 months is what it'll say on the YouTube video. So
wow,
it's been a minute. But we look different up here.
Yeah,
your side looks different. The middle looks different and everything. So
and a lot of stuff to go over, a lot of stuff to talk about. Probably today, what you say, just getting back into just kind of telling everybody what we have been through, the changes in the company. And that's the nice thing about, doing this is, since we're not nationally owned or, we're not purchased by private equity, we can kind of do whatever we want to do.
Right.
And come up here and hang it out in the podcast room and tell our friends and family and coworkers and customers and everybody else kind of what's behind the scenes here is kind of exciting me. I know since we had the last podcast, I think Shane's not here now. Yep. Shane, who's our general manager. David, my son, is now running ops and doing a phenomenal job. Couldn't be happier. I know the guys are joking. They don't see me as much anymore. And I was like, well, I'm right there working on my field, but super job done there. We hired Ben Burvig to help with ops in truck management, inventory. He's removed the baseball net downstairs and made it a
get this thing out of here.
Yeah, man, but it looks better. He put it outside and just a lot of changes that just feel like growth and streamlining some things around here. So Ben's doing a phenomenal job down there. We hired Haley as a new CSR, and she seems to be an absolute culture fit. The guys really like her, and that's always important. She's very smart, and seems like that was another fit. And we talked about it before, just making sure that you don't try to, put a square peg in a round hole, so to speak.
Right.
You find those right people for the right jobs, and it seems like we're doing a much better job doing that.
Because we even had one, and I'm not obviously going to say names or anything like that or reasons why or this, that, and the other, but we even did have an experience in that time where there was a person who didn't exactly
very
fit
talented
and mesh.
Very talented, but just didn't fit the culture, and that those things happen, and he's a good guy, and I hope the best for him, but you'll have those things in times of change, change is not bad. Change is good. I know a lot of people saw that little exodus, and when you've been in business about 6-7 years, you'll start to see a little bit of turnover, and sometimes if you hired everybody at the same time, you can see heavy turnover around that mark, and people kind of hit the panic button, and it's like, hey guys, like, it's not panic, there's nothing wrong, it's just these people have done their time, and either the processes, the company's outgrown them, or they've outgrown the company sometimes, but either way, it's just time for a change,
right?
So we had all that happen. I think Shane's doing really well at his new job, and he's excited. I think he may be doing some things for himself here soon. And other ones I think are doing wonderful. So, we're not the buck doesn't stop right here.
Right.
So super happy for those guys, but even happier for us. I mean, we're killing it right now with processes and operations. I'm not even talking about money. I think the money's fine. It's just, right now at this point, I know we focus this year on just taking care of the customers, getting our training done, becoming better technicians, and they're doing all that. So really exciting stuff happening here.
Because you have a completely different outlook, in a sense, on the company now. You're able to, you're kind of at 3,000 feet now and getting a much more bird's eye view than where before you were still very, not to say you're not hands-on now, like you're definitely still in here.
No,
but
you're right. Yeah.
When you get, and we've talked about this a lot, like when you're in this mode, like, okay, I'm worried about our marketing, and I'm worried about being an ops manager, and I'm worried about
training
and this and that, and you can't ever see the picture.
No.
So now that you can, like, what are some of the things you're seeing?
Well, one of the things I know, just pulling back, I mean, you were huge in this. I mean, I think you and I both spent a lot of time trying to figure out what our identity was in marketing and what we believed marketing was for. For those of you that know, we've talked a lot about Google Ads, we've talked about LSAs and Facebooks and algorithms and, AI, all these different things that are part of our world. But we really just pulled back into saying, hey, let's just focus on good work and put that message out there in front of people who care. And that kind of summed it up. And once we did that, we use our various different ways of of targeting those people or keeping records on customers that are interested in those types of things, and we feed them viable information and viable pictures, and we just let it be. One thing we didn't do this year, which we normally do, is we didn't set a monetary benchmark this year. Every year we've grown year over year, and we still might this year. It's verdict's still out. It's early. Almost halfway through, but yeah, we may or may not grow top line this year, but we made sure that our focus was not on that. Our focus was really, really, really getting inside and making sure we had a good culture, good, happy employees, that we were getting training with the young technicians. There was some holes that need to be filled and training that needed to happen. So we got in and we're getting in and trying to get more and more of those holes plugged, and making sure that with the talent that did leave, that we were replacing that with ultimately going to be more, experience or better talent. So, and that's kind of my MO, that, even coaching baseball and baseball teams and things like that, I'm always looking for, that next set of development, that next batch of talent, or that next, segment of growth that you see in a team, and make sure we don't miss that and put those guys in the right positions to succeed. And I know you, going back to what you're saying, I mean, you've mastered so many things that I don't know that I want to get into right now. Some of the marketing stuff that you've mastered, we don't rely on Google anymore. If we wanted to focus on growth, we could absolutely open up the Google pipe stream and make sure we beat year over year. But for what? What if we can do that with our internal talent and processes and systems?
Right.
And so from a bird's eye view, your question that you asked me, 100%, I would say that I see a calmness in the company. That's the number one thing that stands out. There's a rhythm and a relaxing of the minds internally, from technicians. Ben doesn't even speak to us. He shows up, he whistles. I come inside, and he's playing, Mozart in
Interstellar
there.
and
Literally, or
Inception
Marty
soundtracks.
Robbins. He's playing Marty Robbins in there. I'm like, man, this is a high volume service company, and my guys are able to do their job and listen to relaxing music, and it relaxes me. You're in your office and you're systematically, you don't have this look of frustration, anxiety of the world falling down. I've got to produce all these jobs. There's a system that you trust, and I trust, and everybody's relaxed in. David's managing, CSRs are managing, and it just feels like there's a calmness and a confidence inside the company that everything will be fine. We have the answers to whatever problem we get sent out on. We've added septic tank pumping and installations. That's gone really well. We've gotten that behind us. We had a lot of work that we had to go through. We had to table this podcast there for a while. But the number one thing I would say is just competency starting to evolve. You can kind of see it happening.
Right.
And I think once we get to the end of this year, that the numbers be what they are, I think they will be just fine. And I think next year, if we decide that we want to attack growth mode again, it's just going to be so much easier.
Right.
You've got the training facilities in place. You've got the systems in place. You've got the right personnel and leadership in place. So that's kind of where I feel like I see from 3,000 feet at the moment.
Because we don't have to build the fuselage and figure out how thrusters work and everything. It's like, just how much fuel do we want to put in it?
That's right.
At that point, like,
right.
where do we want to go?
I mean, just for our listeners, look at where we're at right now. You don't think about things like that, but every bit of this has to be thought about. There's 3 cameras back there, lights, and we had a technician come in here and hang this heavy gauge curtain rod, and then curtains and lighting and switchboards and all these things, and taping wires to the floor. If you were in here to see this, but this is a labor of love by Josh, by yourself. So
and David too. I'll tell you, he did a lot for helping that part look better.
Yeah. That's David right there.
That's David.
Sure. Yeah.
I was like, man, I wouldn't have even thought to put the box at a 90-degree angle to make it.
Yeah. The way he's an electrician.
Right.
So
he said, I'm having fun.
Yeah.
Okay, man. You come up here and have fun.
It looks great.
I'm for it.
No, I noticed that right away when I came in. So, just this one little tiny area of the company. I wish the cameras could pan outside into the building, because you'd see Ben now has a full drive-through operation for parts.
Yeah.
And it's just a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes to just do the simplest of things anymore.
Right.
And so that's all built, like you said, and now we can begin to just produce, produce better content up here, bring more people in. We're finally ready to really do that now. And, if we want to add trucks, that's fine. We can add trucks because they just fall into the system. And there's guys that are going to be to their left and to their right. That's going to help them hold that course, and be an excellent technician in a world where private equity is sales only. If you're a customer of ours, you're going to see a lot of price increases across the board, not from us, but in the community, period, because a lot of the companies that you think are privately owned are no longer privately owned. They're private equity groups that own them, and they're being rolled up into systems. I heard just this week David Taylor got bought out, so he's no longer an independent operator. You had Dipple that got bought out. You had Corley got bought out. You got all these different guys. McGee has been purchased. And is under some sort of a partnership now with private equity. So you'll have a lot of these quality players that have been here for many years that are now riding on a name, but their pricing structure's changed. You'll see maybe some consistencies in maybe marketing. You'll see consistencies in scheduling, things like that. But it's still going back to one group. They're all competing against each other for one man's pocketbook. So we have the luxury of sitting right in the middle of all this. We've been offered, every week these groups reach out to us and, want to take me to lunch or do something to try to purchase this company. And, and it's flattering, but no, thank you. I think what we have is very, very special to the community. I can control my pricing. Yes, we exercise maximum yield processes, which we gladly share with you as customers and fellow business owners. But it's all about fairness and excellent work and giving back into the community. And we're doing it and having a lot of fun doing it. I'm building a baseball field for the kids next door. I'd never run a bulldozer before, and I was a builder for years, but I just ran skid steers and excavators and obviously laid out houses and buildings and stuff. But first time actually operating, a dozer, and it was quite an interesting learning curve. But it's turning out really well, and I'm having fun with that. And it's something that kids from all over, you'll see, they'll be out there just practicing their baseball and playing. Right. So that's just something you don't get with private equity, or corporate groups. And
they don't know the word Easley or Williamston from this other town where their other company is. And I mean, they might put it on the billboard to make it look that way. Like, oh, we care about you, comma, Easley, fill in the blank with whatever city. Yeah. But there is such a different perception from the owner, like from top down, really. And that's where everything's going to come from. It's just going to trickle down.
Oh, it has. Our customers and I would call them friends too in the community. I'm not like I'm who I am. Like, I was thinking like there's got to be better business owners than me as far as just like sugarcoating things for people or being like super sappy cool. And, I'm not that guy. I get in arguments with my customers who are competitors on a baseball field. Like, I'm just real. Like, Trina nudged me the other day. She said, "Be nice to that umpire. He's a customer of ours." I was like, "Well, he made a bad call," So, but they respect. They know that I'm real, right. And they don't have a problem with it. They get on to me right there back on the field, and then we drop it. So, I'm always evaluating myself. Do I need to change who I am because you're a business owner in the community, and people kind of look and associate you with your business, and of course there's some of that there, but. It's just, I just feel really good with where we're at, personally and business wise. I feel like the customers we have are real people. I feel I'm able to be real with them. And, we have customers that, man, it may not have worked out for their kid on a baseball field. And I'm like, man, I feel it with them, and, but they stay customers. So that tells me that they must know that I genuinely like them. I generally love their kid, to the degree that I can, so I feel like our work here, top to bottom, to make sure that we take care of the community at every level and to keep it real is something that you can't put a price tag on. It's not something that we can't sell this company to private equity and them say, hey, we're going to keep your name or keep your logo. Justin, you can stay and manage how you want to. Nothing changes. That's just not true. You know, that's just not true.
Right.
So we just are at a point where it's no thank you right now. So, and as long as, you know, key employees or my sons want something to do with it, it'll be no thank you, you know?
Because at some point they're going to send somebody to shake it up. Like, we don't quite do our marketing this way.
Yep. Oh, of course.
We're gonna change this.
Or
because
Justin, I don't think it's a good look to have a hitting cage on the backside of your shop.
right.
I think we need that space for XYZ.
Right.
If I make that decision, that's fine. But if someone else, it's going to really stink. If somebody else tells me to take my hitting cage out, and all of a sudden 40 kids that come through here a week to hit aren't able to come hit.
Right.
You know, that's going to not be cool.
So,
Or they decide they want to take my baseball field that I built and make it parking for trucks.
right.
That wouldn't be cool.
Right. And
It'd be
might
cool to make a helicopter
business
landing
decision.
pad, though.
That would be cool. Put a little runway over
A
there.
little round circle on it, a little
Hey.
windsock on it.
It'd be like that. There's a guy who lives near me who has a full-blown runway,
Oh,
like
yeah.
in the middle of Easley. I'm like, that's crazy, but
Yeah.
you do you, man. You do what you want.
Yep. But you and I had a good discussion the other day, Josh. I know I got in an accident at Highway 88 in Mountain View. If you're a local listener, you'll probably know exactly where I'm talking about. Anyway, I got in an accident right there. Totaled my truck, and you were riding with me and dropping things off, and I just kind of asking you how you're doing. You want to share any of that story with us?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So yeah, we were just riding together, and I'm 27 for context in that, and growing family, everything. Just had a baby on Saturday, so that's our third boy. So that's
Congratulations,
thank
man.
you, thank
again.
you.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the layout. Very young parents with 3 kids, and you've been right there in that same spot. But I was just kind of asking you, like, how do you get? I'll just use the phrase that you used, out of the starting blocks. Like, how do you get out of being a perpetual renter, feeling like you're just stuck throwing money down the hole for somebody else's building that you just have to stay in because you don't really have another choice unless you want to be on the street or something? Like, how do you save money when you feel like it's all going towards something else? Like, those kind of questions were what I was asking you. And yeah, just the stresses that go with all of that, kind of that mental wear and tear, like,
And I remember
how it affects everything, But you go ahead.
Yeah, no, I remember when you asked me that, and I remember thinking, man, I think about that more than you think, just because I have kids your age. I've got Justin is right, you're at your age, and David. So, and I'm always, remembering the former days, if you would, when I was trying to figure out how to support a family and all that kind of stuff, and it is extremely difficult, and I don't ever want to sugarcoat for young people how hard it is for you. But at the same time, I'll never make an excuse for you because I like to look at life in general. It's hard to survive at every level. You go into the wild and you watch, animals that are born in early spring in the snow, and they're having to try to find food, and they're being hunted, and it's always tough. Being young is miserable. It is a tough time of life. It's just that they're just so full of life and probably just a little too stupid to know how hard it is. And they've just never seen it go right. So, this is just life to them, and so they bumble along and they run into brick walls all over the place as hard as they can go. And they bounce right back. So it's part of the maturation process, part of the growth process. Just like a baby falling all the time is actually very good for them. Teaches them to use their bodies, and motor skills and everything are developed. Same thing with young men and women. Then it's just a lot's developed by problems. Problems are good. But that being said, I am empathetic with it. I see what society is doing.
Right.
I see how there is an active move always to push you into your place, and to keep that caste system that we say we don't have in place. And it's a very, very real thing.
Right.
So, like we were talking about that, and I was just like, man, while all that's true, we still live in the greatest country in the world for an opportunity.
Right.
We truly do. And I know it's getting harder and harder and harder, but the tools are getting better and better and better. So while you always want to look at, the problem, yeah, they've inflated the dollar. Well, and don't focus on dollars. I mean, that's kind of what we did in our company. Like, we knew the dollar was being inflated, and hoarding a bunch of cash is not really a great thing to do. So put it into something else. Put it into people. Put it into tools. Put it into assets, or something that can give you some residual income. Whatever the case is that you want to put your money into, hoarding the dollar is really not going to help you right now. And so that's how young people think. They save my dollars, and
Right.
you got to save your dollars and pennies as much as possible, at least to get that start. But trying to teach them that now, while they have done all this to you, they've made, college educations, an absolute necessity, and buried you in student debt, and then said, oh, wait, actually what we really need now is skilled workers. So that they kind of dumped that on.
Or your job doesn't exist anymore because AI is taking over.
Exactly.
That
So
field.
you can look and see all these changes that are happening. But if we're true in our messaging and we believe change is good, then you're going to have to find that good.
Yeah.
At the same point, did you have something you want to share?
Yeah, I want to just go through, because you were mentioning like inflation or different pricing changes and things like that. I want to very quickly just run through this. It's gonna be more statistics and numbers,
That's who you are. Yeah.
So I did a comparison of like looking up data between, I used 2025 versus 1985. So just bear with me for a short time. So I started like with housing versus income. So in 1985, the median house sale price was $78,200. And one thing actually that perked this too was we were walking around the neighborhood with my wife's parents, and we walked past the house that was for sale. She's like, "Oh yeah, in their neighborhood, that would be a pretty nice place to live, be close to the grandparents and everything like that." And she's like, "Yeah, I looked it up. It was 300,000 or like 299." And her stepdad was like, "Well, back in when we would have been over here, they would have asked 70,000 for that house." It's like, that's crazy, But median house sale price in 85 was $78,200, and the median household income was $22,400.
So what's that ratio? Did you do that ratio?
It's 3.5 is the price to income ratio. You look at it now, you have median house sale price is $433,000, and the median household income is $74,600. So the price to income ratio is 5.8. So it's almost double, like pretty close.
Yeah.
First time homeowner age is now, but you have the average age that a first time homeowner is 36 to 38 years old.
Wow.
And when it used to be in people's late 20s. So kind of like right where I'm at, which is crazy. You're almost 40 years old before you
10 years of your life, in which a lot of people financially were able to pay their homes off in 15 years. Now all of a sudden they were close to paying their houses off.
I mean, you're just getting started.
When you're just getting started and paying almost double.
So and then if you're a renter, average rent was about $350 a month. So it's around 18% of your income, where now it's $1,800 a month, which is 30% of your income.
What was the first one? What was the first percentage?
18%. So it's went up 12% of your income is now that's just extras thrown away. So, and when you look at the inflation factored in, it's about 3 times from 85 to now.
So what's the answer to that?
That's what I want to get to. So I want to finish going through these just really quickly to give multiple comparison points. And I want to ask you kind of like, where do you see the answer and alternative? You look at vehicles. 85 average new price for a vehicle was $9,000, which adjusted for inflation was around $25,000. Average new price now $48,000. And then the big kicker was the loan terms. So then your loan terms average would be 36 to 48 months. Now it's 60 to 84 months. So you're just paying more and for longer. Student debt, about 35% of people
Which
used
is
to
part
go,
of the great deception for young people.
which is,
Well, it's only this much per month.
oh yeah, yeah.
You know, so they say, look, yeah, you know, I used to pay $600 a month for a car payment. Which I don't know that they ever did, but now you're paying only $700, so that's not bad. Well, you're financing it now for 2 years longer.
Right. Around 35% of people attended college in 85. Average tuition yearly was about $1,200. Average
year?
student debt.
Okay.
Average student debt was, you would come out with around $3,000 to $5,000 of student debt. Now you have 60 to 65% of people attending college, so far more, and your average yearly tuition is $10,000 plus. Average student debt you're going to come out with is $30,000 to $40,000. Estimated people paycheck to paycheck in 85, about 30 to 35%. Personal savings rate, you could save between 8 and 10% on average of your money coming in. Now people living paycheck to paycheck is 55 to 65% with a savings rate of 3 to 5% only. Financial stress, reported as a major issue in 85, 20 to 30% of people, with anxiety and depression at 5 to 8% of the population. Now you have 70% plus financial stress is reported as an issue, with anxiety and depression disorders at 25 to 30% plus of like my generation. Multiple job holders.
That's kind of modern day slavery. Truthfully.
Right.
Yeah.
Multiple job holders in 85 was 5 to 6% of the population, and now it's 8 to 10%, where you also add the side hustle culture, like where you just have to do more, do this, with extra income streams in 35 to 45% of people. So that's all my numbers and statistics.
So this is going to get real controversial, this next statement.
That's fine.
I'm going to say the number one reason is for all this, and why this worked for society, is obviously human greed. In the 80s, everybody wanted to buy things, okay, and that convenience. And it's also where we took the mothers out of the home. That's it. And then those people who had the mother and father, I remember friends, you know, back when I was a kid, most of the mothers stayed home. But we had friends that didn't. Well, they always had things. They had more than everybody else by a lot. Like they would have the motorcycles, the dirt bikes, and, you know, all the cool stuff. And so people say, well, that works. Let's do that. And then you started having more and more people having two working incomes coming into the home. And then society and banks and lenders and insurance companies and car manufacturers and everybody else says, wow, we have Americans with a surplus of income. We'll build loans for this. We'll build interest rates around this. We'll manufacture more around this. We'll step up our marketing to target multiple income houses. And now where they got ahead a little bit for a while, now that's the new playing field. And so everybody's just on this rat race, right? And then you have people who say, well, my wife wants to stay home and raise our kids. So what does that do to your income compared to everybody else? It drops you into the poverty level. Okay. So that's where I'd like to challenge everybody to say, what are we chasing? Are we chasing money? Are we chasing quality of life? And what are our standards? Because once you let go of that standard, that's where things begin to tank. Okay. Right. So if it was me and I was young, and my sons do this, their wives stay at home and raise their kids, and they reap a ton of benefit from that. They don't have to go out and eat every day, so they save money. They don't have to pay daycare.
Right.
Huge.
Right.
They don't have to pay, you know, their student loans off because they went into the trades. Okay? So their standard of living is almost the same, but it's so much richer. Because they have the home-cooked meal. They have, you know, a relationship where they're centered around each other. They have their children are disciplined. They're not chasing things all the time.
Right.
You know, and I raised them pretty much the same way. You know, now it puts a lot on us as providers, whether it's the man in the home or the woman in the home, with that situation dictated that for you. It puts a lot on your shoulders to be able to give sufficiency. But we live in a great country. Mm-hmm. If you're working as hard as you can and you're putting your family, you're putting God first, you're doing all these things right, there's so much help out there that people need to take advantage of and shouldn't look at as a stigma. You start making the government start paying for you a little bit more, you might start seeing a shift. Mm-hmm. This is going to be controversial, big time. And I'm not saying that a woman's place has only got to be in the home, because that's not true. You know, she could be in the home and she can be a merchant. She can be at home and she can be a businessman or businesswoman. She can provide so much from her platform of the home. That's biblical. Mm-hmm. You know, you want to attack a country, you attack their women. You take their women out of the home, and then you've neutered the male. Mm-hmm. Okay, you just have. And we can get into this at another place and time. Like, I'm never going to say, because of the needs and the way society is, that people don't have to work. Men and women do have to work right now, especially if they were raised that way or their loans put them in this situation. But can we work backwards off of that? Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? And start getting and making those hard calls where we just stop talking about money all the time. Mm-hmm. And you say, Justin, it's easy for you to say you have enough. For the first time in my life, I have kind of enough. Mm-hmm. Okay, money hasn't flowed for me, but I've had a very rich life. I was telling someone the other day, I was telling one of my boys, I don't think that I've have as many regrets as people think I have, mm-hmm. because I've lived a lot of life, you know, already. And that part of the reason is because I just didn't respect money. I didn't let money make the decisions for me, mm-hmm. usually. And when I did, that's where the problems came.
So how do you break out of that? Like, if you are somebody who is so...
Sacrifice. Mm-hmm. You have to look at, you have to, for your family and for yourself, you have to look yourself in the mirror and say, not doing it anymore. I read a book when I was 25 or 26. It was written by Robert Kiyosaki. Everybody knows Rich Dad, Poor Dad. But I think it was in his original writing of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he talked about him and his wife went homeless for a while. I'm not telling people to go out and go get homeless, mm-hmm. but this was the level he was willing to take to step off that rat race. Okay, so whether it was a tiny home, whether it was bunking up, you know, with roommates, whether it was, you know, being willing to live small and tight and bunk up in rooms, and everybody doesn't have to have their own room in the house and 2 bathrooms and all that stuff. You know, it's kind of interesting. You go back to our roots as Americans, the log cabin, man, was an awful place to raise a family. Let's be honest.
Like kids out all in the living room sleeping.
You know, like 8 kids in this bunk area over here. Mom and dad slept under it, mm-hmm. you know. I don't know when or how them babies were made, but
probably don't want to know.
You know, it was just awful, man. And they're cooking in there, you know, and then run outside to use the bathroom. But you know what? This country was built on it. You know, that's the Declaration of Independence hanging up right there. And you look at all those signatures on there. Most of those lived in log cabins. Mm-hmm. Okay, and they built a country. So we kind of don't have a good idea of what we have to live and live richly. Mm-hmm. Some of my best memories are when I was poor. You know, when you have to take your kid and say, hey, kids, let's have a popcorn and ice cream night. Mm-hmm. You know?
They're probably loving it.
Oh, yeah. This is our popcorn and ice cream night, you know?
Were you loving it?
Oh, yeah. Look at Dave in here. Yeah, so, you know, and it's just time. They have mom, dad, and all is right in the world, mm-hmm. you know? But see, now we have to go out to eat. We've got to, you know, fight over which streaming service we're going to watch for the night, because there's 50 of them out there. Those are subscriptions you can let go. Mm-hmm. Kill the subscriptions. You know, I have almost 1,000, maybe more than 1,000 now, DVDs that were either given to us or we bought along the way. And we bought DVD players and put in. Mm-hmm. And it's funny. They have every movie in the world they want to watch, but they still want to jump on a streaming service. Okay, mm-hmm. So that tells you how Americans think. It's whatever's the fastest, easiest, You know, they don't even want to get up and put a DVD in.
Yeah,
because that's
play the game. Like it's almost a game looking for
what you
to
spend
watch.
an hour looking for what to watch.
Yeah, you watching
previews.
Half of the movie is you just looking for it, and then you're like, I'm tired.
Yeah, I'm going to bed.
We've watched 20 minutes. And I'm ready to go.
And let's be honest, how empty do you feel as a human when you do that day over day over day? That's not living.
Right.
You know, the other thing that people can cut back on is sports. And I'm one to talk. I spend too much time doing it. But as I'm doing this, I'm watching. I'm like, when did sports take over the world? You know? Yeah, I love sports. There's a lot of good things to take from sports. And my kids are going to play sports. But controlling the level, the intensity, the duration is another place that you can save a lot of time and money, you know, in society. So anyway, going back to my point of sacrifice, that was what he decided to do. I never could take it that far, but there's lots of things that I would go without. You know, when I started Ace, I drove one truck. It was a box truck. I did not have another vehicle. Could I? Yeah, I could have had another vehicle. Did I have the money to buy another vehicle? Yeah. I wouldn't do it because I wanted to feel the burn of decisions I'd made in my life, of wastefulness in so many areas, and I wanted to I just wanted to see how frugal that I could exist at that point in life. Guess what? I really didn't have a money problem ever again. Well, I would say ever again, but you know, scaling and growing costs a lot of money. But yeah, when you want to just shrink your appetite, we still live better than most people in the world. I mean, even people on I have family that's on food stamps. Oh my word! Like, you're not going hungry in America. Period. If you just are just diligent, control your appetite, take advantage of the services that are there for you. If you're doing the best you can, it's a great, great, great country. Still, the tools we have with AI give you so much information. You know, the internet, all the things that we have with Amazon, all the tools that we can buy for cheap. You know, we have more available to us to do more and to make more and to be smarter with how we go about, you know, receiving income than before. So if society has changed and employers are no longer willing to pay you what you're worth, and they're no longer willing to pay you insurance, they're no longer willing to do anything for you, and they're just using you, then use your mind. It's a powerful, powerful tool. And then put that together with discipline and sacrifice to obtain a goal, the simplest goal. I'm always shocked at how people make money. You know, we grind it out for money here. I mean, the service trades are hard work. People make money in the craziest ways. I mean, I remember when silly bands came out. Whoever invented silly bands, man, they just made a fortune. Like the profit margins was just astronomical, right?
Right.
Going through the roof. My wife right now, she's like, hey, there's a racetrack right there. Let's put an ice machine out on the road. We looked into it, and I don't know, maybe $20,000, $30,000 in annual income come off that easy, just in one location if it's in the right place. And it's like, it's passive, you know? So there's so many ways if you want to actually take a little risk, sacrifice, and put one foot in front of the other instead of watching a movie, instead of going to another baseball game. Take movies out of the equation. If you just took movies and downtime out of the equation, Dave's sitting over there. Dave would probably tell you, Dave, how many hours did you see me sitting in my office when you were growing up? Or hunched over a drawing board drawing something. Yeah, and I even set it up where my drafting table was in the living room to where I could still enjoy the family. They'd be watching a movie. I'd have my lamp on. I'm working. And I'm relaxed because my family's all around, you know, and everything's good. All's right in the world for me too. But that was my creative time to do something. But what if I sat there and watched the movie with them every single night?
Right.
Nothing got done, you know? So I'm at a stage in life now where I watch more TV than I ever have, and I hate it. I mean, I think last night I just turned it off and said, listen, I'd rather just go to bed. I think we went to bed at 9 o'clock last night because my sleep and my mind being bright the next day is way, way more worth whatever junk they're trying to show me and indoctrinate me with.
So you mentioned talking about how families have the, like, oh, I got to pay off this student debt or anything like that. Do you see trades as the alternative path that you would recommend to people? Like, this is a better way to go to do it?
I mean, no, I don't. It's a good way. But we need them all. I mean, you have to have doctors, you have to have attorneys, you have to have, people in science and in engineers. I mean, it's very, very, very necessary. These institutions got this big because they provided great value and separated us from the rest of the world. So I'm not a person who is 100% against higher education. I feel it's absolutely necessary. I wish I had a degree, in something sometimes, just because I just want to know that I pushed that next level. The problem is that's changing slowly. And colleges now have become, and have been for a long time, indoctrination machines. They create a certain mold of thought, a certain type of voter, a certain type of tradesman.
Yeah.
So their doctors are going to be indoctrinated, and so that's the problem. Okay. What to do about that is way above my pay grade, and we can philosophize on that. But I do like trade schools. I wish that there were apprenticeship programs, things like that, to where you could become a professional through internships and things like that, and a certain amount of studies that were independent of the machine. Big problem. Okay. But to say in society we can just get rid of those right now, that would be a disaster.
Because even looking at the timing of it environmentally is, I would love to do a deep dive on this, because I'm sure you could figure some stuff out. But you think about the time they're trying to do this to people, especially, like, you see it trickling down younger and younger and younger now. But it's like, okay, this is the first time this person is out of the house, surrounded by other people their age. So you don't have the fact check right at home. Like, hey, this is what my teacher said today. What do you think about this, Mom and Dad? It's more, let me get together with somebody else my age who also knows nothing, and let's talk about what they said. And because they're the authority, I'm just going to immediately accept it. And it stirs it up more and more. And it's like you're building that culture, really. Right. In that time. So I'd like to see if you could test it. I don't know how you'd get this data, but people who stayed in the dorms or like on campus, what their mindset is versus people who still would commute from home.
Oh, I guarantee you there's a drastic difference. Home, I wish I could find it. There's an article, this is baseball trivia here, but it never changes? Home plate. It's constant, right? The strike zone is always the strike zone. There's certain things that just never change. Okay. So home is the same way. Homes are designed to be consistent. The information that comes from your father and mother generally is the same information you're going to receive your whole life. Okay. And then you go and you try to move home is what they're trying to do. They're moving all the things that have always been constant. They move the strike zone. They change the strike zone. They change the location of home plate. They change it all. There is no home plate. Wait, is there a home plate? And that's kind of what starts to happen when they go to college. They undermine every foundational thing that there is. And then they turn into philosophy. Well, everything's just philosophy. Well, that's your parents' philosophy on things. Your parents were born in this. Your parents were this. Your parents are not as educated as you are now. They undermine the whole structure. So yeah, there's some major issues with institutions. I know that. You were asking me the question though, like, do you think that that's like the only way?
To do trades,
yeah.
Or like, would you advocate for that? And say
100%.
This is the direction.
Trades covers a lot more than people think. And out inside these trades, there's tons of opportunities. I mean, look, you're doing your dream job inside of a trade. Okay, so there's still a tremendous amount of opportunity if you'll learn how to market yourself. And that's another thing that young people need to learn how to do is quit texting, quit all those little apps they have, WhatsApps and all those things that they're doing now.
TikTok and Twitter
X
TikTok,
now. Snap. There you go. That's what I was looking for. Snaps. I can just learn to actually communicate and talk and actually meditate. So even from the time you're 18 years old, what am I good at? What am I better than my peers at? Acknowledge that. Okay. Squirrel that away for a conversation with a future employer or an opportunity you want to chase. Be willing to do something for free. I don't see that anymore. So I had a strong interest in horses when I was young. I wanted to be a horse trainer and cowboy and all these things. So I would go and I would just go to ranches and farms and say, hey, I'll come clean all your stalls if you'll teach me about these horses. Guess what? I had no problem finding work. Guess what else? I now know how to train horses above average.
Yeah.
You know, I was able to show at a competitive level, and it didn't cost me much because I was willing to go out there and work for the information that I wanted. I remember needing money for a summer. Okay. I went down and asked a construction site, could I come work? Like, nah, you got to be 18. I went back to the same exact construction crew and said, hey, I'll work for free. I just want to learn how to do this. So I go down there, I start nailing up plywood. Dude hands me $50. Look, I just took the excuse off the table. Said, look, you ain't hiring me. I just want to learn how to build. I'll come nail nails, clean up your job site for you. Most of my great opportunities came from me saying, look, I don't know. I'll do anything. It ain't about money for me. I want your information. I'll work. I'll help. One of our great employees here took a job, high-paying job, high-salary job in the corporate world to come work here for what helpers make because he just wants the information. He's one of our best employees. Great dude, right? They're all good. They're all great employees. But he's special in the respect that he has the discipline and the forethought. That reminds me of something that I would have done if I wanted to get into a trade that I wasn't familiar with. I've done it. So I recognized it, and I took a chance on it. It was great. Now, I know once he gets the information and he's extracted what he needs from this company, he's either moving to management or he's out of here. Cool. But in the meantime, he's an absolute joy to work with. Okay. So that's the other thing that young people do. Instead of this negative entitlement, well, y'all have already impressed me, so I ain't gonna work unless you want to pay me $40 an hour. Sorry. They put you in jail. They don't care if you stay there. Get out of your feelings and say, I'm dumb, I'm broke, you're screwing me, you're oppressing me, but I got a little baby over here, and I know that if I had this information right here, I could do this, this, and this with it. What's your plan? And go and give something for free. Give something to people, and they generally will give back to you, or somebody will give back to you. It will make its course back to you. We have a very selfish generation. So they wonder why they don't have enough. You know, I don't know if you've put this together with me, but I really don't count money very much. I don't get hung up in pennies in the business. Probably would have a lot more money if I did. But it robs too much from my soul and the souls of the business and the spirit of the business. So we had a little bit of technical difficulties there. But anyway, going back to, you know, making money our focus. Like if you make money, just $1, your idea of success is going to compound and be a self-fulfilling prophecy moving forward. So if you focus on personal development, focusing on the positive, the tools, the new tools available to combat the new era, the powerful insight that you have through spirituality in church as to what this life's really all about at the end. What do you want your legacy to be? 9 times out of 10, you even interview people who are chasing success or climbing the ladder, so to speak, and ask them what you want their legacy to be. Most would not tell you money, even though their actions are telling you something very different. Because we internally know as humans that's not really what this is about, right? So outside looking in for young people, and as I coach my kids, you love those kids, you love your children. You invest in your children, in the people who are going to come after you. All the mistakes that I've made, I've been pretty good about that one. Like I give them as much as I can give them discipline, give them love, give them the things that I can provide for them. And if I can't, I give them the explanation as to why I can't with no apologies. Okay. You know, build that home, that relationship with your wife. I have not been perfect in that in my life, but I've learned from it, you know? And you start building that home and you start building valuations outside of money, you will have sufficiency. And once you have sufficiency, then you can be increased. Once you have increased, then you can start worrying about how to lay aside for those children. But it will happen if the priorities are correct. 9 times out of 10, it happens. So, in hindsight, trades are great. If you have to go to college, don't get caught up in the system, in the indoctrination portion of it. Maybe go to a 2-year, get out of some of that stuff through a technical college, get the degrees that you need, and avoid all the hoopla and all the indoctrination as much as possible. And if you know you're going to have to take certain courses, make sure that you have an active mental campaign not to lose your anchor,
right,
and your grounding.
Right.
So go into it that way, young people. So make sure you're working closely with your parents at a time where you want to break free, at least on that level. If not, get your spiritual counselor, and work closely with them on the things of conservatism, and the things that are godly and things that build you and reward you and enrich you as a human being, as a person. Once you have those, you're a desired commodity. Once you're a desirable commodity, you will make money. People will pay for you. And I have learned that even as I hire people. I've been shocked here, even with this last turnover of people. I've hired people, not skills. I've hired guys that I just thought were good guys or girls, and I have not been disappointed. Yeah, they're a little behind on something technical or learning something, but it's amazing when you have good minds, good people, in grounded homes, how fast a little technical information comes to them. It's an afterthought.
Right.
If you're so focused on teaching the technical and finding that skill, but they don't have a good home life, or they don't have a good focus in life and where they're going, and they're not grounded, everything eludes them. Not just the technical stuff. It's like it's 2 steps forward and 1 step back, or 1 step forward and 2 step backs even, so.
Because our age range of people, like, we just have a bunch of young men, really, is our pretty much entire working force. And then, of course, some young ladies in the front. We don't have that person. And I know you were kind of considering, like, maybe I should get somebody who's 40, 50, 60, that person who's like, I'm ready to retire and just kind of want to do something.
Yeah.
But I've lived that. We don't have anybody like that in that position. So what do you see in the young men that we do have? Like, are there certain special things that you're...
I like younger people because they're hungry and coachable. Now, they're not always, but the guys that I have are coachable. And if they're not, you've seen we generally part ways pretty quickly if they can't be coached, if they're just actively resisting coaching. There's always a place for maturity, and I think, Shane brought some of that. He's a little older. And of course I step in and bring it when I need to. But if you, like I say, there again, I don't think that position needs to be rewarded because of age. Alexander the Great was 30 years old when he conquered the world. Jesus Christ changed the world by the time he was 30. He died at 33 years old. Leif Erikson was 28 years old when he went across the Atlantic with 34 guys in the most hostile part of the Atlantic Ocean and found America for the first time and established a settlement. If you go back, people didn't live like they live now. And we expect our kids at 25 years old, they'll come along. We don't really have that mentality here. You're 18 years old and you're not at school and you got a family, you're a grown man. You are a grown man. I'm going to treat you like one. And guess what? They respond to that. Young men have all the tools. They have more strength. They have more creativity. They have faster minds. They have a lot of other baggage, because they're very, very spontaneous, but they have every tool, if they are challenged, to get the job done and get the job done right and or better, faster, more efficient, and they're happier doing it. So I don't have a problem working young men and young women and putting them in positions of great responsibility. Does it always pan out? No. We have issues. Sometimes they get, they don't follow a process, or they get spontaneous and they make mistakes, rash mistakes.
Like a rebellious
side,
or
more
not so
just
much?
more just like, for instance, a technician, instead of following, they can become rash. Oh, I already know the problem. I already know the problem. It's there. Because 8 times out of 10, that's always a problem. But they don't have the experience to know that 2 times it's really not the problem.
Yeah.
So you still need to follow your process. So that's probably more of the stuff that we deal with young technicians. And of course, maybe they haven't seen things before, so they'll call you a lot more. But you've seen that. We've even challenged them on that. Like, again, you're young, but you have better tools than I ever had. We have troubleshooting AI now that's out of this world. Don't call me for every little problem, because the first thing I'm going to ask you is, did you use the programs and the tools that we have on your iPad to look at that machine? Oh, well, I just thought, well, then no, you really didn't think, because you didn't use the tools that are there for you to help you think. So again, while it's very difficult, and I know we probably didn't get meat and potatoes as much as how to get out of that rat race, I'm going to say absolutely right answer is to keep your mothers at home. They are the anchor. That is not a downgrade. That is a profession. That is the highest calling of a human being in this world, is to be a mother. I'll challenge anybody who wants to come at me with that. The older I get, the more I realize the level of sacrifice, the level of knowledge, the level of skill, the level of diligence, the level of love that is involved with a mother and a wife. It is a position that you don't want to find yourself in, trying to do both. And then many of these women get left raising their kids later without any support. And then they actually step up and are mother and father and still do it better than most guys. So these are highly skilled individuals in a profession. Now, you can argue that any way you want to, and they make and save you more money than you can ever imagine doing it correctly. And that's a challenge I have to the young ladies. Like, own the God-given capabilities. Your mind works different.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Even they can multitask 10 times better than any man, scientifically. Okay? The way they can handle things and hold things, I just was so disrespectful when I was younger, and not understanding that while they're a weaker vessel physically, they are not mentally. Not at all. So men have their jobs, women have their jobs. And if you put them together in a marriage, and you put them together in a home, and they work in harmony, everything works. Everything works better. That's the number one problem with our society right now, is the home. You're stressed, you're working, you're doing all these things. You have a wife who's stressed, not making ends meet, and you both are living in this world of stress. And I've been here, and I've had conversations with my wife, like, look, she doesn't really work in the business anymore outside of some HR stuff. It's like, I'm not coming home to a wife who's more tired than me. There's just no reason for it. Like, if we're going to do this, we can just be by ourselves and do our own thing, because we need to build each other up. You need to know that I'm going to deal with this. I'm going to put this on my shoulders, and I'm going to fight my fight. And I'm going to trust that when I get home, that my food is there, and that the kids are happy and relaxed, and you've got the back end stuff of the sports events, the church, so all the things that go into making a family unit well-rounded. You've got that handled. I trust that you have that. You trust that I have this. We get together, you're going to tell me it's going to be all right, or we have each other. Do the best you can. And then as a man, I'm going to, my wife is happy, my kids are happy, I'm good. I don't need nothing else. Okay. And all the money in the world is not going to help you with that. You can have $1 million in the bank sitting there, and your wife is stressed out and aggravated, and your kids are bad, they're flying over the place, and you're miserable, brother. I'm going to tell you that. Facts. You're miserable. Or you can have negative $50 in the bank, and a loving wife, and kids that are happy and adore you, and they turn around and she says, honey, it's going to be fine. It's just money. We have each other. These are sticks and boards that we're living under. People have done it for thousands of years. And you'll wake up with a different attitude, and you're fine. So my number one thing would be to attack the home, that relationship. Make sure that you have that right mate. If you have someone who's not going to be that person, get rid of them. I mean, I hate to say it that way, but if you don't have somebody that's going to support you, you're in a bad relationship, So that's my or obviously challenge them to change and work through things. Yeah. But I'm just saying, but you'll every now and then you'll have people who are just like, look, you're oil, I'm water. See ya, and both will be better off. There are those situations, So anyway, fix the home. Be willing to sacrifice. Be willing to use your mind. Turn off the TV, and then let's come back and talk.
All right.
That's what I have on it.
I think that's a good place to kind of bring it to a close here today. But,
okay.
I mean, I'm happy getting back into this.
Oh, yeah.
I'm excited. Get back on our little
that one ought to really
routine.
Get some people fired up.
Get some things stirred up. Like, what are they going to say next time?
Yeah. What off-the-wall things Justin coming up with next? It's really not, though. It's pretty historical, actually. It's really historical, actually. Just open up that book right there.
That's
tell you all about it, man.
That's true. Well, thank you guys for tuning back in with us. Thank you for dealing with our little hiatus. We'll just call this season 2.
There you go, season 2. There you go.
2. So we'll be back at you next week, and we appreciate everybody out there.
Thanks, Josh.